Understanding bias and fairness principles is essential, but without proper accountability structures, those principles don't translate into practice. This lesson focuses on building governance models that ensure responsible AI use while maintaining the operational flexibility your organization needs. Accountability structures aren't about creating bureaucracy or slowing innovation. They're about establishing clear ownership, decision rights, and oversight mechanisms that prevent problems and enable fast, confident actions when issues arise. Without explicit accountability, AI systems tend to fall into organizational gaps. Technical teams build systems focused on performance metrics. Business teams focus on deployment timelines. Nobody has clear ownership of ethical considerations, fairness testing, or ongoing monitoring. When problems emerge, it's unclear who's responsible for fixing them or who has authority to make decisions. This leads to predictable failures, bias that goes undetected, systems deployed without adequate testing, incidents without clear response protocols, and diffused responsibility that means no one is truly accountable. Strong accountability structures prevent these failures by making ownership explicit, decision-making clear, and oversight systematic. Effective accountability structures have several key components. Clear ownership. Every AI system needs an identified owner responsible for its performance, fairness, and ethical operation, not just technical functionality. This person or team has authority to make decisions about the system, responsibility for its outcomes, and obligation to address problems when they arise. Without clear ownership, accountability becomes theoretical. With clear ownership, someone wakes up thinking about this system and is empowered to act. Accountability requires clarity about who makes what decisions, who decides whether an AI system is ready to deploy, who can halt a system that's causing problems, who approves changes to algorithms or data sources, who makes trade-off decisions between accuracy and fairness. And when decisions require escalation beyond system owners, what's the path? Who reviews? Who has final authority? Ambiguous decision rights create delays and diffused accountability. Clear decision rights enable fast, responsible action. Accountability needs standards defining what good enough means, what bias testing is required before deployment, what ongoing monitoring is necessary, what performance thresholds trigger review, what fairness criteria must be met. Without standards, accountability is subjective, and teams default to whatever seems reasonable. With standards, accountability is measured, and teams know what's expected. Structures that provide independent review and challenge to AI decisions are your oversight mechanisms. This might be an ethics review board, cross-functional oversight committees, or independent auditors. The specific mechanism matters less than having some check beyond the team building and deploying the system. Oversight prevents groupthink and catches issues that developers close to the work might miss. Accountability also requires visible decisions and documented reasoning. When choices are made about fairness trade-offs, acceptable bias levels, or deployment timelines, those decisions should be documented with reasoning explained. This creates learning for future decisions, enables external review when necessary, and ensures that implicit assumptions become explicit and challengeable. Feedback mechanisms are ways for people affected by AI systems to raise concerns and trigger review. This might include customer service channels, employee reporting mechanisms, or external complaint processes. The key is that feedback reaches someone with power to investigate and act. Many biases and failures emerge only at scale or in edge cases. Feedback from affected people helps identify these issues that testing might miss. For building governance models, you want to consider how do you implement these accountability elements in practice. There must be tiered governance based on risk. Not every AI system requires the same level of oversight. Match the governance intensity to the risk. High-risk systems are those making significant decisions about people or operating in sensitive domains, and they need rigorous oversight, extensive testing, and senior-level accountability. Medium-risk systems need documented standards, regular monitoring, and clear ownership. but can move faster with less intensive review. Low-risk systems, those with minimal impact on people or easily reversible decisions, can operate with lighter governance focused on basic standards and monitoring. This risk-based approach ensures you allocate governance resources where they matter most, rather than treating all AI systems identically. And we have cross-functional oversight committees. For high-risk AI systems, establish cross-functional review committees with representation from technology, business, legal, ethics, and affected stakeholders. These committees review system designs, fairness testing, deployment plans, and ongoing performance. They provide independent perspective and ensure decisions consider diverse viewpoints. The committee doesn't make every decision. System owners retain day-to-day authority, but it provides oversight, asking hard questions and escalates concerns when necessary. There are AI ethics review boards. Some organizations establish dedicated ethics review boards specifically for AI systems, similar to institutional review boards for human subjects research. These boards review proposals for new AI systems, assess ethical implications, require additional protections when necessary, and can decline approval if risks aren't adequately addressed. Ethics boards work best when they have clear authority, diverse expertise, and leadership support to make binding decisions, not just advisory recommendations that get ignored. It's also helpful to have product owners with ethical accountability. Integrate ethical accountability into existing product ownership roles rather than creating separate ethics teams. Each AI system has an owner responsible for performance and fairness. That owner uses frameworks and tools provided by ethics and governance functions, but has direct accountability for outcomes. This integrated approach ensures ethics isn't separated from delivery, but is part of how systems are built and operated. Regular audits and reviews are important. Implement scheduled reviews of deployed AI systems, not just pre-deployment checks. These audits examine whether systems are performing as expected, check for emerging bias, verify monitoring is working, and assess whether governance processes are being followed. External audits by independent parties without investment in current systems provide additional rigor and credibility. Accountability structures only work if they're integrated into operational workflows, not bolted on as separate processes. So one of the ways you can operationalize accountability is with AI impact assessments. Before deploying AI systems, conduct structured impact assessments covering what decisions does this system make or influence, who is affected by these decisions, what are potential harms or unfair outcomes, what bias testing has been done, what monitoring will be in place, who owns this system, and what are their responsibilities. These assessments force systematic thinking about accountability before deployment, not after problems emerge. There is the launch criteria and gates. Establish clear criteria that must be met before AI systems can deploy. Required testing completed, bias analyses done and acceptable, monitoring systems in place, ownership assigned, risk assessment completed, and oversight review, particularly if high risk. These gates ensure accountability isn't optional or left to judgment calls about whether we're ready enough. Incident response protocols. Define clear protocols for when AI systems cause problems. Should answer questions such as how are incidents detected and reported? Who is notified? Who has authority to pause or modify systems? What investigation and root cause analyses is required? How are affected parties notified and remediated? What changes to processes prevent recurrence? Without clear protocols, incidents trigger reactive chaos. With protocols, response is systematic and effective. Ongoing monitoring dashboards are also a key. Create dashboards that make AI system performance visible to owners and oversight bodies. These dashboards should have accuracy metrics overall and by demographic group, bias and fairness metrics, search patterns and volumes, error rates and types, as well as the ability to drill into feedback and complaints. Visibility creates accountability. What's measured and visible gets managed. You must strike a balance between accountability and innovation. Strong accountability shouldn't paralyze innovation or make AI adoption impossibly slow. Requires right-sized governance. Match governance intensity to risk, as mentioned earlier. Don't apply high-risk protocols to low-risk experiments or prototypes. Allow fast iteration with light governance for low-stakes work. Require rigorous process only for high-stakes deployments. There must be clear decision rights, speed execution. Paradoxically, clearer accountability often speeds decisions rather than slowing them. When everyone knows who decides what, decisions happen quickly without the endless consensus building. When standards are clear, teams don't need to debate what's acceptable. They build to standard. Ambiguous accountability slows organizations down more than clear accountability does. Use governance as an enabler. Frame accountability structures not as obstacles to innovation, but as enablers of confident, fast deployment. With good governance, you can deploy AI systems quickly because you've tested appropriately, established monitoring, and have clear ownership if issues arise. Without governance, deployment should be slow and cautious because you don't know what might go wrong. Good governance lets you move faster, not slower, because it reduces uncertainty and risk. I want to review some common accountability failures and how to avoid them. Several patterns lead to accountability breakdowns. Talked about diffused responsibility. If everyone is responsible, it means no one is accountable. Avoid collective responsibility without clear individual ownership. Fix this by assigning specific owners to every AI system with explicit accountability for outcomes. Compliance without impact. Organizations create policies and documents but don't actually change how systems are built or deployed. Fix this by integrating accountability into operational workflows, not creating parallel compliance processes that get checked off without impact. Another issue is when there's no real authority. Ethics or oversight functions issue recommendations that get ignored because they lack authority to enforce them. Fix this by giving oversight bodies real power, ability to delay or block deployments when necessary, backed by executive support. Another issue that is common is post-deployment neglect. Most issues actually emerge after deployment. Intensive review before launch, followed by minimal attention, is post-deployment neglect. Fix this with ongoing monitoring requirements, regular audits, and making post-deployment performance part of how teams and leaders are evaluated. Another common issue is attempting to implement one-size-fits-all governance, treating all AI systems the same, either with overly light or overly heavy governance, regardless of actual risk, causes problems. Fix this with risk-based tiering that matches governance intensity to potential impact. Documentation is also an accountability tool. Good documentation creates accountability by making decisions visible and challengeable. Have decision logs. Document key decisions about AI systems, what fairness criteria were chosen and why, what trade-offs were accepted, what testing was done, what monitoring is in place. This creates organizational learning and enables review of whether good processes were followed. Model cards. Create standardized documentation for each AI system covering its purpose, training data, performance characteristics, known limitations, fairness testing results, and appropriate use cases. These cards make capabilities and limitations explicit for users, oversight bodies, and future teams maintaining the system. Maintain records of who made what changes to AI systems and when, enabling investigation if problems occur and accountability for decisions. This is especially important for high-stakes systems where you need to understand exactly what happened when issues emerge. Your organization will be greatly helped if you build an accountability culture. Structures matter, but culture determines whether they work. Provide psychological safety for raising concerns. If people fear retaliation for raising ethics or fairness concerns, accountability structures fail. Foster culture where raising concerns is valued as responsible stewardship, not punished as obstruction or negativity. Reward responsible practices. Recognize and reward teams that do thorough bias testing, implement strong monitoring, or catch potential problems before deployment. If only speed and features get rewarded, accountability becomes a burden teams minimize. Leadership modeling. When leaders ask about fairness testing, review bias analyses, and delay deployments for accountability work, they signal these things matter. When leaders skip governance processes or treat them as box checking, they signal they don't. Learning from failures. When accountability breaks down and problems occur, conduct blameless retrospectives focused on system improvements rather than individual punishment. Don't map individual accountability to individual punishment. This encourages transparency about failures and creates organizational learning rather than cover-ups. As a leader, you cannot personally oversee every AI system in most cases, but you shape the accountability environment. Establish governance frameworks. Define what good AI governance looks like for your organization. Set standards. Create oversight mechanisms and allocate resources for compliance. You want to set the tone. Demonstrate through your actions and questions that ethics and fairness matter, not just performance and speed. Ask about bias testing and reviews. Investigate incidents thoroughly. Support teams that raise concerns. And empower the accountability owners. Give people with accountability genuine authority to make decisions, including ability to delay or stop deployments when necessary. Accountability without authority is theatrical, not real. Allocate resources. Accountability requires time, tools, and expertise. Budget for these. Staff for these. Provide necessary resources rather than expecting it as free add-on work. And enforce consequences. When accountability structures are ignored or bypassed, there must be consequences. Otherwise, everyone learns that governance is optional. This doesn't mean punishment. It might mean requiring remediation work, implementing additional oversight, or adjusting deployment timelines. And be sure to celebrate good governance. Recognize publicly when teams do accountability well. Thorough testing, proactive monitoring, catching and fixing issues early. This signals that governance isn't just about avoiding punishment, but about doing excellent work. Accountability applies at every stage of the AI lifecycle. Design and development. Who ensures fairness considerations are built in from the start? Who reviews data sources and algorithm choices? Testing and validation. Who verifies bias testing is thorough? Who decides whether fairness criteria are met? For deployment considerations, who approves production launch? Who ensures monitoring is in place? Operations. Who owns the ongoing performance? Who investigates when metrics indicate problems? Evolution and update considerations. Who reviews changes to AI systems? Who ensures updates don't introduce new biases? And retirement. Who decides when AI systems should be decommissioned? Who manages transition to alternative approaches? Gaps in accountability at any of these stages creates risks. Comprehensive accountability covers the full life cycle. So accountability structures transform abstract ethical principles into operational reality. They ensure someone is always responsible, decision rights are clear, and problems get detected and addressed. Good accountability enables innovation by creating confidence that systems are being developed and deployed responsibly. It reduces risk and accelerates learning. In the next lesson, we'll explore balancing efficiency with human values, navigating the tensions between AI-driven optimization and the human considerations that numbers don't capture, but that matter enormously for your organization's success and sustainability. Now that we've discussed how to build accountability structures, we'll review how to ensure those structures serve both efficiency and deeper organizational values in the next lesson.